today I'm just going to do a presentation on number one, an AI marketing tool that my team and Nat and her team have developed together. I'm also going to talk about a way that you could quickly and easily create your own links to do sort of similar things in a more basic way. That the marketing strategy that we set up with Nat definitely is a bit more, way more advanced than what I'll show you. But I thought I'd just show you some practical steps using OpenAI, using Zapier, using a simple form to sort of achieve a similar thing without all the prompts. I'll also then walk through the marketing plan so you can actually see it, do it, fill it out, and sort of get the response back from there. So I suppose my first question, just before we get into any of that, is who here is using AI at the moment? Who here is leaning hard into AI? And does anyone have any interesting stories or cool things that they're doing with AI? Or is it, more simplistic around just asking it questions, getting it to draft emails, which, I do all the time. So yeah, what's everyone's experiences with AI at the moment?
Well, I'll break the ice. As I have a marketing agency, I'm creating custom GPTs for each of my clients, which helps me behind the scenes get my work done faster. They tend to be copywriting related custom GPTs. And so if I need to do anything marketing related, that especially for clients that have quite complex businesses, or sometimes it's stuff I actually myself don't really understand, but by teaching the GPT, the custom GPT, with all the right information straight from the client's mouth, using an Otter AI to record phone calls and create my documents, etc., I'm finding that it gives me a lot of efficiencies.
Yeah, amazing. Do you, with the custom GPT, so just like copywriting based, do you have it linked to any other platforms to integrate it with anything else, or it's just more like you have the input in there?
So normally I'll have my process would be I'd have an interview, use Zoom, of which I record using Otter AI for the transcript. The Zoom would be perfectly structured with the conversation I need. Then I'll interrogate the conversation through Otter AI and kind of split it up into different types of Word documents. And then I'll take that into ChatGPT and interrogate further to find the exact parts I want, particularly when it comes to being able to, define brand essence and target audiences, etc. And then get to the point where I've got really tight documentation of different aspects that I need from the marketing perspective. And then I use those to create the custom GPT.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
great stuff.
Yeah, and then prompting, really detailed, strong prompts, which includes the citation of sources, Australian spelling, further questions I could ask into ChatGPT, etc. So when it's all done quite well, I find that what I get at the end of that process, when I'm using it for copywriting, is literally like 95% there. So I then can just come and do the final edit. So what would have taken me sometimes 2 hours to do something, by setting stuff up, I can do it in 20 minutes or less, and I don't need to let the client know that. That's my own efficiency. I put the time and the money to spend to learn it, right?
Yeah, 100%. It's still, charging doesn't need to be time-based. It can just be outcome-based. So,
exactly.
Yeah, no, that's amazing, Amanda. Great to hear you're utilizing that. And hopefully today there might be some little things there in terms of simple stuff we can do, integrating Zapier, to sort of link things further together, because I'll show some of that. Does anyone else want to share anything before we sort of jump in? Because that was
yeah, I'm happy to share. I'm just a fairly basic user, but I use it in my marketing, in emails, scripting for social posts and things like that, but just fairly basic, straightforward stuff as I learn more and more how to use it.
Yeah, perfect. That's a great way to start. I think it's great you're leaning into it, because everyone should be leaning into it, and everyone's at different levels. And the hardest thing with this is the time to take to learn. And so hopefully that's what myself and Nat can sort of help pass on with this stuff. Anyone else, or we'll just jump in?
Just a big congrats to the share, and Amanda, you've kind of
A
massive
slightly,
way.
a slightly Australian accent. It was it was horrible. You know.
So just so you're aware, Matt, Stephen's responding to, have you started using voice to AI since our session, since our last tech talk? So
yeah, it was just so over the top Australian opera accent.
yeah,
It was just
you've just got to tell it
ridiculous.
to tone it. You just tell it to tone itself down, and it will reduce the awkwardness about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did that about 3 times and it was still too much.
Oh, we'll leave that for another day. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Like full like Crocodile Dundee style, or
Yeah, it was. That's how it started. It just
made by Americans, no doubt.
yeah, exactly.
Nice. All right, so we might jump in. I suppose what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to come back to. I'm going to jump around a bit with a few different things today. So, oops, let me share it. So what I'm talking about, we've just developed a AI-powered marketing strategy. As I said, this was done in collaboration with Nat, and Nat did do a lot of the heavy lifting in the background from the AI side, so we definitely thank her for that. What we've done is, similar to what Amanda you're talking about, and what everyone else is talking about, leveraging AI. The idea is, marketing strategies are complex. Amanda, I know you put a lot of effort into this, and we're not looking to replace your role. This is just more of a simplistic version of things you can do with plans. We've created a simple form that basically we set up in HubSpot. And then from there, we send that out to contacts, clients, leads. They can complete the form. And once it completes the form, it links to an LLM. And I'll just click on this button here, and so you can see the form. So a fairly detailed form. You can do it quite simplistically. We'll come back to this, a fairly simplistic form. And the idea is that they will then link with an LLS. I'm saying it wrong now. Get myself confused. But basically, it'll link with a AI source, and then from there, it's configured to create a marketing plan in a template. Then it is linked using Make, which is a third-party integrator, to then go to a document creation platform that will create it as a PDF and then email it out to the contact. So in essence, we can create a simplistic marketing plan that will give a good overview into a company, and create that within I believe we're at a 10-minute interval or 15-minute interval, just because that's the timer that we're on with our integration that we're using, but we can speed that up if you want to spend more. So it could be a 2-minute.
I just, for the purpose of the meet, this session, I've put it at 2-minute intervals so you can do it live.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nat. So again, very simple. We didn't build it in a day. It did take a little bit of time to get it. There is a fair bit of consideration about the training, and I might let Nat speak about that a bit later in terms of how you sort of go about setting it up. But number one, when it comes to any of this stuff, we want to understand what the output will be. And so in terms of output, like what do we want the marketing strategy to look like? So we start with that and we build what we want that sort of rough template to be. Then from there, it comes back into training the AI, into managing it, and then also figuring out what outputs we're going to need from the contact. And that's where we generated a form. Now, in saying that, this is a bit more complicated than what I'm going to demo today. I'm going to demo a simpler-ish version of something that you guys might be able to implement fairly quickly yourselves. And then I'll come back and we can actually go through the AI marketing plan. You can fill it out, and then you can get the output emailed to you to see what it actually looks like. So what I have done is I've actually just set up a much more simplistic version, just because the one that we have here is a bit more complex, takes a bit more time, and there is a fair bit of Nat's IP in it as well, because she's developed this process over a long period of time. But something I've just been playing with is I thought I'd show you guys how you can sort of do something similar, not to probably the same level, but using Zapier or using Make. In this instance, I've used Zapier because we're Zapier partners. So what I've done in the first instance is I've just created a very simple form. And to be honest, the form itself doesn't have a lot of a lot of info in it. I've done it to be simple, just as an example. But what I've done is I've gone to HubSpot, which is my CRM. I've created a simple form in HubSpot, and you can have whatever questions you want there. Now, the idea is you would send this to a contact. The contact will fill that out, and then using Zapier, and I don't know if everyone here is familiar with Zapier. It's just a third-party integrator, links platforms together that don't necessarily have an open API, an API, so a pre-existing link. So what I've done is I've integrated HubSpot with a new form submission. So quite simply, in Zapier, you create a new Zap, click the plus button. It'll ask you to select an application to create. And so in this instance, I've chosen HubSpot. And then from there in the setup, it asks me to pick an event. I pick the new form submission, and then it asks me to link my account. There are a range of other events as well. You know, if you want to trigger other things, you can do it that way. But again, for this, I've kept it simple. I did think about doing this real time with you, but I just know Zapier can be a little bit fiddly. So I thought I'd just have it set up. But I literally did do this in about 10, 15 minutes, you know, this morning, just as an example. To do this and integrate it with OpenAI, you will need a paid account. That's the only thing. It won't work on a free account. I think I pay $30 a month, so it's not like it's anything out of the ordinary. So with that, I do a similar thing. I pick OpenAI. I can pick my prompt. So again, in this, I did it quite simply. Now, using Zapier, you can't link it to custom GPTs, Amanda, at the moment. You can, through Zapier, you can do it through webhooks and in Zapier, but it is a little bit more complicated. So you might need a few extra steps to do this. And so that might be something that either you could reach out to us for a hand, or you could simply just go and ask ChatGPT how to do it. It should be able to walk you through it, the steps. As you can see here, you can pick the model. The prompt, I just put in a simple prompt, create a 6-month content plan. That could be a 6-month marketing plan, could be whatever. Obviously, the more effort you put into this prompt, like with anything, the better results you're going to get. And then quite simply, I've gone create document from text. So like, see, if you've got options to create new document, and that'll just create a new document, because it's create new document from text, what it'll do is I've got the document name, and I just selected email because that was easiest, but you could put the business name in. I put the prompt at the top of the document content, and then the response. So the response, you have the options when you create the Zap, and then that will let you select the response. So like, as you can see there, that is fairly simplistic. There's nothing crazy about that. I'm not going to say this is a great product or this is something that I could use. What I'll say is I created this morning in 10 minutes. So, you know, with a bit more effort and a bit more work, you could get a lot of value out of this. And, you know, at the very least, if you know, your ChatGPT is doing things, you can get it into Google Docs, or you can link 3 platforms up together. So, you know, what does it look like? Again, I'm just going to fill out this form very quickly. You know, whatever the budget is, none. And again, like I said, we're not going to look too much at the content of this because I just did this as an example of more linking it. So I've linked that. I organized it so it would go into my miscellaneous folder, and you can see it's already popped in there. And so you can see here that now I have create my 6-month plan as my prompt, and it's got top level content in that document. So again, not looking at the content at the moment because we haven't really tweaked that. There's so much more that we could do with it. But I just wanted to show that as a really simplistic example around what you guys can do using Zapier, using OpenAI, and using existing platforms. Nat, do you want to comment anything on that? Because I know there's obviously a lot more that we can dive into, but I just thought it'd be interesting for people to have a look at.
I think it's a really great. Oh, I'm echoing. Sorry. I think it's a really great space if you're wanting to play with those sort of automations and getting an output. Obviously, the more complex the output needs to be, the more time and energy that's going to need to be spent. So what you've done in 10 minutes is, you know, fucking amazing. Sorry, shouldn't swear. But yeah, I think, you know, if that's something that you're wanting to to do and play with, go for it. You know, it's amazing. It's an amazing thing that you can set up for your clients, or even just other projects that if you've got a brain dump or something like that, you could just like fill out that form, and then it will stay organized in a folder. So, you know, it can be used for just about any application.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, you know, it doesn't necessarily need to be a content plan. It could be a range of different things. So like I said, I just wanted to use this as an example, because what we'll show in a second with the marketing strategy, which actually takes it and links it using a different platform rather than Google Docs. It actually takes it to SurveyMonkey, I believe, or Survey Docs, which is a PDF platform, and it actually puts it into a PDF document that has, you know, been formatted and designed in Canva and made pretty. So, you know, you could do this with a range of different things. You could do this with proposals. If you set up, you know, the way that you wanted to automate proposals with HubSpot, you move a deal into a new stage, it could pass information, it could create that into a new document. There's so many different applications that you could use this for. And I thought this was a good example just to go with the marketing strategy. So do you have any questions or thoughts about that from anyone? Any comments? Is that something you think you'd use? Is it something that is interesting?
Matt, I've got a question.
Yeah, mate.
Is there any way that, you know, the output from the chat GPT can somehow read content within your company's library to give like a, you know, give your own sort of branded output to it?
Yeah, so again, even with like ChatGPT, you can, like, as you work with it and train it and have like a logged in account, it will learn from you. If you do want to create certain content as well, like if you've got a library, you could have it, like you could pick a document that comes for that. When we're talking more about the custom GPTs, that's when you can really train it further. And, you know, that's some of the stuff that Amanda's probably done. And I might pass to Nat just to maybe talk on that a bit more, because I know she does stuff that's a lot more advanced than this. But yeah, Nat, do you have any thoughts around that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I won't repeat about the custom GPT or using GPT itself. So if you're, was it John who asked the question?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So John, in regards to if you're looking at it from filling out the form and then creating an output with the data bank of your company or whatever information, that would be a technical setup through either Make or Zapier, where it draws from that information and then a set of instructions or a customized AI solution to get the more tailored output for you.
Yeah. Also, something we want to kind of build over a period of time is like a kind of like a chat bot for staff queries. So we've got like 100 staff who commonly ask the same questions. Is this like sort of thing you could ultimately build out a library of answers and they complete a form and it spits out an answer relevant to our business?
Yeah, that's something that's certainly possible, and it can also be done through a Slack chat bot as well.
Okay.
So you could set that up.
John, it can also be done through HubSpot too. You're still on HubSpot, right, John?
Yep. Yeah, we are.
There's a have you seen much around? So there's a little section at the bottom here called Breeze. If you click into Breeze, we have agents that you can create, and one of them could be a like customer service agent. If you go into the customer service agent, you can add content, and some of that content could be examples. You could then put that customer service agent onto a landing page that you create in HubSpot that only your staff have access to.
Okay.
And they could go there and access that. So you've got a few different options. But this one, it's still in beta. Do you know how to access product updates?
Not really, no.
All you need to do is, so number one, it might already be here if you go down. If it's not, this is for anyone using HubSpot. If you just go to trust the process, your profile, product updates. And then this is where you can request access to beta. What was that one called? Customer agent. I think I already got it, so it might not show up on mine. Yeah, but it should pop up there. I think if you go to overview here, it'll give you the option anyway, just to click on this and launch, and it might say launch the beta. But have a play around with that, because that has a lot of it set up for you. If not, there's options like Nat said that, you know, we can, you can set it up yourself with, you know, a few more technical steps.
Yeah, that's awesome. Very exciting.
If you haven't played around with this section, just jump into this section here and have a play, because they've got a range of stuff to do with AI, Copilot, agents, and intelligence. I did a tech talk on the intelligence side a couple of weeks ago. It's on YouTube if you're interested. So feel free to jump in and have a look at that. If not, I'm always happy to have a chat about it as well. A lot of these features, there's only one feature in all of these three that's paid, and it's one of the features in intelligence. There's a few features that aren't paid in that as well. So most of this is free to play around with.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Matt.
All good. All right. So I suppose what I wanted you guys to do is just to go through and just, if you feel like it, if you feel like you want to spend 5 minutes doing this, but I just thought it could be a good example of what a more polished product looks like. I've just put in the chat TTP outsourcing AI marketing strategy. Jump in, click the get started. You can go through the form. It'll ask a range of questions. Probably does take 5 or so minutes, so it might be better even if you do it afterwards. But if you feel like having a play around and doing it now, you can go through it. Once you have done it, like I said, it'll ask the questions, and then it should email you within about 2 minutes an email, a templated email that we've created, and then attached to that we'll have your marketing strategy plan that gives a good overview based around your inputs and what you want to achieve. So if you go through that, it's all pretty straightforward. Obviously, with this, the more information you put into it, the better. If you want to do it as a test and you just want to chuck in dummy info as well, feel free. But as you can see, as you go through it, we've crafted these questions, and we spent a fair bit of time around thinking what are the questions that we want to ask and what are the questions and how that matches. Nat, did you want to talk a bit more just about anything to do with the setup of this? Obviously not going into overly a lot of detail, but just some of the considerations and some of the things that you did with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So a part of the collaboration with TTP building this AI marketing plan, I'm going to call it volcano for a moment, so it spits out marketing plans as much as you want, is that the biggest consideration was what is the purpose of why we're doing this and what value does it add to the people using it. And so before we even started the build, we needed to understand those parameters of why on earth that we're doing it. And so from there, we progressed in the series of mapping that out, discussing it, and then saying, well, the purpose is for X, Y, Z for TTP and their audience as well. So understanding the why before you build anything, I think is really important, because then you've got a direction and purpose to aim for. In regards to the technical build, there's a lot of behind the scenes IP to go into this, but in a nutshell, you've got a reason you're doing it, how to build it, and executing it. So there was, I don't know, you said not to talk too much, so but understanding the why is probably the most important thing, and then the end product and achieving that.
No, talk as much as you want, Nat. Sorry, I didn't mean it like that.
No, I mean, I talk under wet cement, so I just wanted to be mindful of, you know, it's got to be valuable for you guys. There was moments in the build that I was like, can I bloody execute this to the precision that we need and consistency, consistently, especially using AI and parameters of, you know, there could be thousands of people using this form. And so we needed to take into consideration the audience that was using it. And so, and a lot of that comes down to prompt engineering, which is understanding the process of how to build it, and the outcome and marketing, messaging, branding suitable to the user in front of you. So the form is just it's a really integral piece of the process before we create an outcome for you.
Yeah, no, thanks, Nat. And like I said, so what I showed you earlier is something you can do. What this is something that, like, you know, you probably need to go to an expert like Nat, or, you know, work with someone who sort of knows what they're doing, because there is a fair bit to it in the background, and to get a better result, you need someone who knows what they're talking about a lot of the time. With these forms as well, there are also other forms that you could utilize. Now, what are the voiced forms that you use again?
Voice forms. That's what it's called.
What platform is it though?
I think it's just called voice forms. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I'll grab a link for you now.
Yeah, but basically, instead of typing it out, you can just record your voice to each answer. And in the modern world, a lot of the time, that's a lot easier than typing. It's a lot quicker than typing, and it just allows you to play around with that then as well.
Yeah.
So,
but we stuck to this. We stuck to the more of a static form for this purpose, because the voice form integration was far more complex than these forms as well. So this is really seamlessly integrated with HubSpot for the output and the purpose of understanding where the contacts are. And well, Matt, you speak to HubSpot more than me, but having it aligned with HubSpot itself rather than a external form was really helpful for the overall experience for the behind the scenes team. Yeah.
100%. And having this linked to your CRM as well is just a no-brainer in terms of data and control. Obviously, this is all data we can use in the future. We can use this to filter and to manage. So I'd highly recommend, whatever CRM you're using, if there is a way that you can grab a form, capture it into the CRM, then move it into ChatGPT, just keeps that single source of truth, which is, which you're all probably aware is so valuable.
Another thing is that Matt mentioned that I did a lot of heavy lifting, which is true, but I trust the process team. There was a platoon of them supporting this notion. So I'd say they did the heavy lifting.
Yeah, there's definitely a collaborative effort, but I suppose with that, there was a bit of work put into this. So, to make something the idea around this was to make something that can be sent directly to a customer. So we had to put more effort in. What I showed you previously could be something then that you could go and edit yourself and then get it ready and then send it to a customer. So there's definitely avenues there where you can use both methods, depending on what your scenario is and what you want to achieve. Do we have any questions about this? Are there any thoughts, any comments, anything you'd like to clarify?
I'd like to ask everything at the form.
Look focused.
Oh, here we are waffling away, Matt. It was a lot of fun building it. To have a collaboration with you guys was pretty phenomenal, and it's awesome to be able to sit here and share it with you guys today.
Yeah, and I think again, it's just at the very least, it's just something that another example of what we can do with AI, and it's just going to get more advanced. It's going to get more widely adopted, and I think that just really the possibilities are endless, and it's a really cool space to be in. So, yeah, really keen to keep playing around with it. I wish I had more time in the day.
That's why you got me.
That's it. All right. Any questions, guys? So we can keep baffling, or
I guess question for me would be, appreciate the standardization, because I can see how that can be time efficient. What do you do if you have clients come through and they have a nuance to their business, and there are sort of tick boxes on the form that might not apply to their business? Can you sort of manually go in and tweak the form if you need to, or in this situation, does everything need to just run on the same standard form?
So do you want me to answer that, Matt?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, awesome. So a part of that process, Amanda, is that if we use this form as the example to answer your question, is that this has a very specific task focused of creating a marketing plan fast, effectively, to give people an idea for them to then continue the conversation with Matt and the team, right? So if we're looking at a customized form, say for your clients, where there is variables, you can have different forms for different segmentation, which have the option to provide more of a text-based answer, which is going to capture those really unique individual components for your clients. And that's how I would navigate this type of form.
Okay, that makes sense. Yep.
Oh, good. I made sense today. Winning.
I think too, Amanda, it's like looking at this for what it's for. Like, this was created as a lead magnet, not as, you know, something that would be a definitive marketing plan. So we didn't, if you wanted to create it as something that you were going to use as a marketing plan, you probably wouldn't directly send it to the client. It would probably be created, you would edit it, and then you would send it to a PDF to, you know, to be done. So, you know, it just depends on what you want to achieve, because like we know with anything with AI, it spits out good products, but it needs to be edited. It needs to be reviewed. This, we're not reviewing it, and we're doing that deliberately because, like we said, this is just purely a lead magnet at this stage. I've definitely been playing around with some other products or some other things, like some content plans that will go with this. But yeah, at the moment, it's just designed to be simple.
I've just filled one out just to test that everything we've built has worked as well. It does work.
Perfect. Any other questions? Because if not, we can and as always, you can ask any questions about HubSpot, any tech related things, any AI related things. If you're trying to create something, or you're trying to do something in HubSpot, or you're trying to do something with AI, this is the time to ask.
I've got a follow-on question, Matt. Just in regards to using like what you said before, a custom GPT with like internal library of company documentations to answer like staff queries, for example. Can you somehow link that to like a chat platform like WhatsApp for Business, where staff can post their questions in that, and it will zap off to whatever it is, custom GPT or whatever, and then shoot out an instant response through WhatsApp?
So I'm going to say hypothetically yes, because I just want to make sure that there's a caveat around saying yes, it can do that. The way that it's structurally set up is really important, that it pulls from the database, answers within, you know, let's just say seconds, because it still needs to process the data. The parameter I would put around that is that Matt's drawing on the screen, keeping himself interested. So part of that would be putting parameters on the output that it doesn't deviate from the actual facts from your company. So if it's a high stake or something vital, you don't want it to be saying, pick up the drink, pick up that bottle in front of you, and it's a bottle of acid or something. So we need to be mindful that AI can be delusional. So how that is set up for the output is really important. So I may have gone a little bit deeper there, but it certainly can be done instantaneously. But just be mindful of what you're using it for, and the pros and cons of that as well. So it might be just like a general one to begin with. So, you know, formatting, or I'm not sure what your business is, John, but I would make it relevant to a small piece, test it, review it, and then build out from the, you know, FAQs for your 100 staff. What are they commonly asking, and probably base it around that.
And is it customgpt.ai? Is that the platform you're referring to? I know Matt referred to HubSpot as well, but I think that's I'm just looking at it as a paid upgrade I need to make to be able to use that Breeze one. Is it custom GPT, Nat, that you were referring to?
Oh, roger that. So what I'm referring to, you can use OpenAI, ChatGPT, as the paid AI source, or you could use Anthropic Claude. So if you've got you need a paid account for either of them to do similar things to what we've just displayed, and your possible chatbot. But that's always changing as well. So if you can do it on the free version, great, but the paid version protects your data more effectively as well.
Okay.
And John,
And
just to confirm with the Breeze is data enrichment. So that's a paid feature, but on HubSpot. So you should be able to still maybe access some of the other AI features, including Copilot and the agents. So just have a little play around with that.
yeah,
In terms of,
it's saying I need to upgrade.
okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. In terms of like, creating your own custom GPT in any of these platforms, just like simply you can see a couple ones I've got here. Again, paid account, but what you need, just go to, my GPTs. Quite simply, again, you need a paid account, and then this is just where you can go through and create your own GPT. Again, fairly simple. It'll prompt you, so you could just really say, whatever you want. Customer service, GPT.
Before
Again,
that
this is very
step,
simplistic.
yeah.
Yeah, you go, Nat.
Before that step, if you can build the GPTs like this, but I would encourage anyone to have a normal conversation and just a chat with ChatGPT, discussing your ideas, and then get it to support a framework and then build the GPT from there. Because otherwise you're giving it very little information to build from.
Okay.
Yeah. And you'll see in the configure side, this is where it gets in instructions. This is where it has all the info. And you can do that, like Nat said, generally go into ChatGPT and say something like, create me a framework for a customer service rep. And it'll create that. And then you can use that for this. Or if you've got any documentation, you can upload that documentation. It'll go through, ask for a name. This is all the real basic stuff. It'll give it a little image afterwards. But like Nat said, you really want that framework sorted because that's the key. But you can continually train it. But like Nat said, and she's definitely the expert when it comes to prompting, you want to make sure that you're getting it right at the start. You're giving it as much info as possible.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know we're kind of jumping back and forth here. So I'd plan out what you want first before trying to build the GPT or chatbot.
Yeah. Okay. And then is there another third-party link to get to having it as an actual chatbot, or can you put that straight into WhatsApp? How does that work? How would that work?
I normally use a solution architect, so I don't have all the answers, I'll be completely honest. But how we would configure it is through Make or Zapier, connecting it to, say, WhatsApp, business WhatsApp, or Slack, or even HubSpot chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there might be some platforms off the shelf as well, John, that'll do it. I'm not aware of any other because I just use HubSpot, but I imagine there might be some. But yeah, if not, you could just use Zapier or Make, like Nat said, to link them if they don't link. But yeah, there might be some off the shelf stuff that does it.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm not too sure on that. I don't know.
I can speak to that just so we can sort of clarify some direction for yourself, John, if that's something you're wanting to seriously consider. This is what I do with AI, whether it's ChatGPT or Claude, is that I'll actually speak with AI and say, this is what I'm thinking of doing. These are the parameters. Can you act as my consultant to build something like this? And then you can say, my level of technology is very limited, and speak in a language that is going to be something that I can understand. So you can type that, or you can actually talk to AI to have that conversation, so it's flowing. And so that is something that you could do if you're curious and exploring that. And in addition to that, you can ask AI to find you a YouTube video on what you're looking for. So please provide me a URL link discussing this topic specifically.
Yeah, good idea.
So there's a lot of information flowing there, John. So just interject at any time if there's something that you'd like more clarity on.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good place to start. Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, you're right. All good. Cool.
Thanks. Any other questions about, like I said, anything, the whole idea of Tech Talks, it's not, we have the topic, but you can ask anything about HubSpot, any other CRMs, any technology, any AI? Well, good. We might wrap it up then if there's nothing else. I hope you guys got something out of that. There is stuff that you can play around with yourself. If you do need a hand with anything further, feel free to reach out to myself or Nat. We'll be happy to give you any further advice or see if there's something that we can help you with. Hope you all have a great weekend, and yeah, we'll chat to you soon.